శ్రీకాంతో మాటలు జన్నేశ్వర మంగళాజనకా శంకరో మహాదేవ త్వం వందే గజాననం విమలపటి కమలపుటి పుస్తక రుద్రాక్ష సస్తస్తపటి కామాక్షి పక్ష్మాక్షి కల్త విపంచి విపాసి వైరించి మనోజవం మార్తుల్యవేగం జితేంద్రియం బుద్ధిమతాం వరిష్టం వాతాత్మజం మాన్యుతముక్తం శ్రీరామదూతం శిరసా నమామి శివశక్త్యాయుక్తో యది భౌతిశక్తవ్రతం న చేదేవం దేవో న ఖలు కుశలస్పందితుం గతస్వామారాధ్యాం హరిహర విరిత్యాది ప్రణతం స్తోత్రం వాకదమకృత పుణ్యం భవతి गुरुवे सर्वलोकानां विश्च पवरोगिणां नदये सर्वविद्यानां श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः विमलपटी कमलपुटी पुस्तकरुद्राक्षसस्तस्तपुटी कामाक्षी पक्ष्मलाक्षी कृतविपंची विभासी वारिंची. Okay. All right. So, the last class we have discussed the 84th shlokam, and I briefly covered the 86th shlokam also without really mentioning it about Manmada's boon getting fulfilled. But Manmada, after he was burned down by Paramashiva, when Manmada became Ananga, he had a bit of vengeance, because of his devotion that's not fully mature yet. So when a devotee is moving with kama, krodha, mada, matsarya, moha, or lobha, it is mother's job as the Guru Mandal Rupini to remove whether it is a kama, whether it is a krodha. In case of Vishwamitra, who was moving with anger, every time he moved with anger, Deva, the king of gods, Indra, sent one or the other Apsarasa, and Vishwamitra's tapas was tested before he became Brahma Rishi. Similarly, Durvas Maharshi's anger was tested by mother when he was born from the Rudramsa, therefore getting the name Krodhabhattaraka. His anger always resulted in Loka Kalyanam. In fact, the Arya Dvishati that Durvas Maharshi wrote, the whole Puja Vidhanam at Kanchipuram is given by Durvas Maharshi. And his wife, Kadali Devi, is the one who continues to be in the form of bananas everywhere, who also turned into ashes because of the anger of Durvas Maharshi's tapas. When the washing vessel's sound disturbed him, he opened his eyes, and that tapo shakti in the form of anger came through his third eye, because Durvasa was born from the anger of Rudra to protect Anasuyamma and Atri, who are the parents of Dattatreya, Durvasa, and Moon. Now, there's a specific reason. So every time there's a desire of a devotee, mother will ensure that that desire of the devotee is fulfilled, so she or he can go to the next level. Manmada, who is one of the biggest devotees, one of the prime 13 devotees of mother, and the current Khadi Vidya that we are learning through Ananda Kriya is also initiated, and the mantra that is used by Manmada, along with that got propagated because of the devotion and the benevolence, wanting to spread the good by the divine couple, Lopamudra Devi and Agastya. Now, so this revenge or this vengeance that Manmada had on Shiva, what was the vengeance? He wanted to kick the third eye that burnt him down. The third eye is in the forehead. Now, how can Manmada ever kick Parameshwara's forehead? So that's what we briefly discussed in the 84th shlokam, but this actual scenario comes in 86th shlokam, which we'll discuss today. Before we get to 86th, Jagadguru is giving the screenplay on how the context is happening, where mother will kick Shiva, and where? On the forehead. Okay, how can Mahapativrata kick on her husband's forehead? That's where the screenplay drama is unfolding with the master storyteller and Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya. That's what he says in 85th slokam. Namo vakam bhrumo nayana ramaniyor padayo tavasmai dvandvaya sputi ruchara salakta kavate asuya tyantyam yadivihana sprahate pashunam ishana pramadavanakam keli tarave. The most important word of the slokam, asuya tyantyam. Who is becoming, asuya is jealousy. Who is becoming jealous? Asuya tyantyam yadibhihanaya sprahate. Yadibhihanaya sprahate pashunam ishana pramadavanakam kelitarave. The ishana, who is pashunam ishana, means in every being. Ishanam sarvavidyanam ishwaram sarvabhutanam. We discuss as the prayer mantra to Lord Ishvara. That ishana is becoming jealous. Asuya tyantyam. What kind of jealousy? Extreme jealousy, not normal jealousy. Pramadavanakam keli tarave. Why Ishana is looking at the garden of love, the mother's garden of love. Okay, mother has a garden in her Manidvipam where there are a lot of trees. When we discuss about Manidvipa Varnam, whether we are talking about Nava Varnas of Muthuswami Dikshita, who is a great Srividya Upasaka, or Arya Dvishati of Durvasa Maharshi, they explain what kind of trees are there. Kadamba Vanavasini, Kadamba trees are there. Ashoka trees are also there, which means that is the reason in Sundarakanda, Mother Sita, who is a representation of Mahatripura Sundari, sits under the tree of Ashoka Vanam. In Ashoka Vanam, Ashoka means that forest where nobody will cry. But in that forest, Mother Sita sat, where nobody cries because it is so pleasant, so engaging. But she cried because she was separated from Parabrahma Rama. And in that Ashokavanam, every tear of mother that dropped took away the punyas of great devotee Ravana Brahma, and therefore cooking his death. In this case, Ashoka tree used to be full of shoka. The Ashoka trees, they would always be born. You see the Ashoka trees in the history, we basically say Ashoka planted the Ashoka trees on the both sides of the roads to give shade and increase the oxygen, reduce the pollution and everything. So this Ashoka tree got its name because earlier it will grow tall, but when the season of fall comes, all the leaves would fall and the tree would die because it cannot do photosynthesis, it cannot sustain and nourish itself. But this Ashoka tree, which used to be Shoka tree, as it was growing, it would pray to the sky, looking at the sky, saying, "Oh, Parameshwara." Everybody says, "You are the Nilakanta, and your throat that is hiding the poison is reflecting the blueness in the sky. And you are watching over me. I am dying. Because of the fall, I'm not able to nourish myself. Can you not please nourish this tree?" Used to pray to Parameshwara as it was growing up and the leaves would fall. Shiva, Namo Vrikshebhyo Harikeshebhyo Namastaraya Maiskaraja Namah Shivaya Shivataraja. In Rudram, Sri Rudra Namakam, Ashtamanuvakam, we talk about it. Now, Shiva blessed the tree and said, "May you get a position in my garden." What is Shiva's garden? Shiva has no garden separately other than mother's garden, because in Manidvipam, Shiva and mother in the Bindu, in the Trikona, in the triangle, in the Bindu, Parameshwara, Parameshwari, both of them stay united. They cannot be separated. This week, one of our group members reached out to me and was talking about Ma Dhumavati, who is one of the Dasa Mahavidyas. And she is often depicted as a widow, a wrong interpretation. Okay? Shiva cannot exist without Shakti. Shakti cannot exist without Shiva. That is represented in Ma Kali's form, we discussed in the last class, as the potential and kinetic energy. which are always depicted as an axis or an axle on top of which a wheel is rotating. Wheel is the kinetic energy. The axis on which it is rotating holds the potential energy using which the wheel can continue to rotate by transforming it into kinetic energy. Now, one of our group members, when they reached out checking about Dhumavati, whether they can pray, and they were trying to pray for one of their family members' bad habits to be gotten rid of. Now, Dhumavati, mother, which is 7th Mahavidya, if I remember it right, Kali, Tara, Lalita, Mahatripur Sundari, Bhuvaneshwari, Bhairavi, Chinnamasta, Dhuma. Yeah. Dhumavati is the 7th Mahavidya. So, Ma Dhumavati and Lalita Sata Namas, the 108 Namas, Ashtottaras, we get the Nama of Lalita Devi is also Mahaduma. And Dhumavati Devi, when we pray to Dhumavati, what happens is she removes all the inauspiciousness that is coming between us and our progress, whether it's material progress, spiritual progress, or other progress that we talk about. So I suggested to that mother that she can absolutely pray to Mother Dhumavati and continue on the form. Now, when Shiva spoke to bless the Ashoka tree and said, starting today, you will get a position in my garden. So Shiva does not have a separate garden than Mother Goddess Parvati's or Mahakameshwari, who is Lalita Paravatarga, the different names. So don't get confused. When I say Mahakameshwari, you should think of the picture in my background. See, she is sitting on Mahakameshwara's left lap. When I say Parvati, she is Parvataraja Kumari Parvati. Okay? One another avataram of mother, because she's kinetic energy. She continues to take different forms. But Paramashiva is the potential energy, always represented as is. Therefore, Shiva is often called Achalam, Arunachalam, that which does not move. And mother in Arunachalam is called Apita Kuchamba. We discussed about Jnana Sambandha story. Then mother, Jnana Sambandha is not the only son you have. You have all of us as your sons and daughters. What about us? That's the reason Gautama Maharshi, who is the Maharshi of Arunachala Sthala Purana, he has prescribed how everything needs to be done in Tiruvannamalai or Arunachalam. Okay, their mother got the name Apita Kuchamba, means she can breastfeed the whole cosmos. She is the A Brahmakita Janani. So she needs to feed all of us, not just humans, the 84 lakh species of beings that continue to exist. Now, Ashokavana got the place in Mother's garden in the Manidvipam. Now, but Ashokavana, when it went to Manidvipam, it was very dry. It didn't have any leaves because it went from the fall season. And when mother looked at the tree, there need not be any communication. Both what Shiva says, Shiva, which is mother, because she is half part of Shiva, the Vama Bhagam, right? And Shiva Panchakshri and Shadakshri, we talk about it. Omkaram Bindu Samyuktam Nityam Dhyanti Yogna Kamadam Mokshadam Cheva Omkaraya Namo Namah Naranamanti Devesham Nakaraya Namo Namah Mahadevam Matmanam Mahadhyanam Parayanam Mahapapaharam Devam Makaraya Namo Namah Shivam Shantam Jagannadam Lokanugrahakarakam Shivam Ekapadam Nityam Shikaraya Namo Namah Vahanam Vrishubhoyasya Vasuki Kantabhushnam Vame Shakti Dharam Devam Vakaraya Namo Namaha. Vame Shakti Dharam Devam. The left part of Shiva is mother. And therefore she knows she is the heart, Kameshwara Prananadi. She is the heart of Shiva's body that continues to beat, and therefore we are able to see the pulse of Kameshwara. Kameshwara Prananadi is mother. Now, when Ashoka went, mother Shiva gave the blessings, therefore mother also has given the blessings. But in the last slokam we discussed, when Ganga from Shiva's head fell, it rinsed the mother's latuka, the red mehndi kind of a thing that is applied around the feet of the Divine Mother. So, mother when the Ashoka tree came and took a position in the Kalambas or the Manidvipa forest, the Ashoka was so weak, it was falling. And when it was falling, it did not even have the energy to fall towards the direction of mother's feet. When the Ashoka tree was falling down, mother, because she's mother, she kept her feet gently because her feet are lotus soft. And the Ashoka tree, when it was falling, wherever it was falling, it didn't fall on mother's feet. Wherever it was falling, mother kept her feet there. Therefore, Ashoka tree fell on mother's feet because of mother's avyaja karuna. And when the tree fell on mother's feet, she gently lifted it. When she gently lifted it, remember the previous slokam? All the water that is now making mother's feet wet, that redness of mother's feet gently touched the Ashoka tree. Immediately it started getting the leaves and the signs of life. Okay? The red color here indicates the change. In the spectrum, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, vibgyor. In the rainbow, red is the first color that splits out from the wavelength of white or the white color. Okay, white is basically is a varna, not necessarily a color. Unification of colors, white and black. One which emits everything is white, one that absorbs everything is black. Mahakali is represented black. Parameshwara is always, represents Spatika Maninibham is as white as a Spatikam. Okay, and therefore, when our consciousness is focused on Paramashiva, that consciousness will be spread into the 7 colors where we know what are our strengths, where we know what are our weaknesses, and how do we transform our weaknesses into our strengths. For example, if your weakness, when I was very young, I still remember I used to speak a lot. Okay. And my grandfather would often say, "Why do you speak?" I used to be full of high energy when I was 6, 7 years old. And my upbringing was with my grandparents. And then my grandmother, who initiated me into Sri Vidya by giving the Haigriva Mantram at the age of 6, she said, every time you want to speak something, keep chanting this mantram. Okay. And when I was 2 and 2.5 years old, my mom, who was a Hanuman devotee, would always chant Hanuman Chalisa. So it became a second nature for me. So my grandmother, rather than scolding me for being high energetic and wanting to speak because I was one of the youngest in the family and would not be heard of, every elder would be speaking, but nobody would want to listen. My grandmother, my paternal grandmother, out of love, and I was breastfed my paternal grandmother as I was born because my mother was in coma and there was no guarantee that my mother would survive. And so the first feed that I received was from my paternal grandmother, who was nursing at that point in time because my youngest uncle, my dad family is a large one. In those generations, you used to have large families. And the last uncle or my dad's last brother is 3.5 years older to me. Okay. And therefore, my grandmother was nursing, so I was blessed, and her name is Bala Tripura Sundari. And my paternal grandmother's mother, whom I never saw by the time I was born, she was gone, right, was a great Lalita Upasaka. So when I went to Himalayas in the 1998 for the first time, Guruji told me, "Do you know why you are being initiated?" And 1998 is when I was initiated into Dhumavati Mahavidya without even my knowledge. Okay, I didn't even know there is something called Das Mahavidya, there's Dhumavati. But then when Guruji initiated me into Dhumavati, he said, "You are now being initiated into Dhumavati because of your great grandmother, who was a great Devi Upasaka. She named all her kids after mother goddesses' names. Bala Tripura youngest daughter's name was Lalita, eldest daughter's name was Annapurna, second eldest was Savitri, right?" And then he said, "You will get initiated into Sri Vidya after some time." Okay. And he gave me Rama Parabrahma's mantram of Devara Baba lineage. And then I was initiated into Dhumavati. And then this was in 1998. Guruji told me in Himalayas that I will be initiated into Dasa Mahavidyas on a west coast in future. This was in 1998. In 2025, when I was traveling for work in the west coast of US, in Seattle, is when I was initiated into Dasa Mahavidya in the order, right? So I was initiated to Dhumavati, the seventh one, and I used to do Dhumavati sadhana at that point in time, as Guruji prescribed. And then after 27 years, mother permitted me when the time was right to be initiated into Dasa Mahavidya. Using the Mahayaga Kramaradhya. In Lalita Sahasranam, we have Mahayaga Kramaradhya. If we keep doing Lalita Sahasranam with utmost devotion, Mother will enable us on the path, whatever is required. Just because I got something, somebody else got something, doesn't mean it's fit for me. So whatever she thinks, whatever she knows is the right, Vanchitartha Pradayini. She doesn't give because I'm asking. She gives because she knows I need something on my path between my as is to my to be, which is to get to her feet with Nirantara Dhyanam. Right? Now, this Ashokavana that now got touched with mother's feet, that is the importance of the redness color of mother's feet, the Latuka. And when Ashoka was touched, Shiva became jealous. Started with it. Ishana became Pashunam. He became jealous, wanting to get that touch. Because now here, the reason I talked about Dasamaha Vidyas is Shiva becomes a disciple of Mother, where Mother is prayer to Mahabhairava Pujita. Okay, Shiva becomes Mahabhairava to pray to the Parashakti when she comes and asks, whom are you focusing on? Whom are you praying on? Whom are you meditating upon? Paramashiva says, I'm meditating upon you, O Mahakameshwari, who is my Shakti, who is the Chit Shakti, Chidagni Kunda Sambhuta, Devakare Samudhita. She doesn't exist anywhere out, she exists within us. Chit Agni, the Agni that is called the thought. When the thought and the consciousness are constantly at friction, awareness and consciousness says what you're thinking is right, what you're thinking is wrong, keep correcting, keep correcting. Like when I had when I wanted to speak a lot, my grandmother, who also is my first Sri Vidya Guru, basically gave me the Haigreva mantra and said, when nobody listens to you, when nobody responds to you, don't get angry. Keep repeating this mantra. And she said, keep chanting this mantra as many times as you want. As many times as you can, not you want. Okay, and what will she do? My question from a very young age to her was, does God really exist? When we say prayers, when I talk to you, you respond back to me. But when I say prayers, I don't hear God back. So why should I say my prayers? This is what I would ask my grandmother. And then she would basically tell me, when at that point in time, I was way too young to understand that when the sun sets in India, the sun, rises in other parts of the globe on the other side. But she would show me the sky saying, can you see the sunlight? And I would say, yes, I can see the sunlight. But can you see the sun? I would say, no, I can't see the sun. Then she would ask, why? I say, because my eye is not strong enough to stare at the sun. She'll say, because your eye is not strong enough to look at the God who is Sahasra Sirusha Purusha. In Ganapati Mantram, we talk about Om Gananam Tvam Ganapati Gum Havame Kavinam Kavi. And we say Sahasra Surya Tejas. We talk about, if you are talking about one Surya and you are not able to look at that one Surya with the eye, you're talking about the God who is infinite Suryas light put together. How will you ever see? For you to get that power, you have to keep chanting the shloka. This is what she would tell me. And with that goal alone, I would chant that mantra like there is no tomorrow. Right? Whether I was happy, whether I was sad, whether I was eating, whether I was taking a bath, whether I was playing, I would continue to chant that Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmal Spatikakrutim Madharam Sarvadhyanam Haigrivam Pasmahe, which is the Haigriva mantra, who is the Guru of Sri Vidya, who received Sri Vidya from Guru Dakshinamurti, and who is the Guru of Lopamudra Devi, Nagastya. Now, this Ishana, the reason I talked about Dasamahavidyas, Dhumavati, and all of it is because when Shiva is meditating on Mother, okay, that's where he becomes a disciple of the Mother, Maha Bhairava Pujita. And when a disciple has all the right to touch the feet and has the desire to long, that's the reason Ramakrishna Paramahamsa also would touch the feet of Sharda Mata. Okay? Because he would not see any difference between Sharda Mata and Mother Goddess, Kali, that he used to pray to. Yeah. And once one form, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was blessed with Mahakali Darshanam. Once one form's darshanam comes, all other darshanas become relatively easy. Okay? And then he saw every form, and Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, I've seen all the forms, but the most beautiful is Lalita Maha Tripura Sundari. There is no beautiful form than it. But I love Kali. Okay, that's what he said. Kali is the most beautiful form for me, but if I have to call a spade, there is no beautiful form than Lalita Maha Tripura Sundari, is what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said. Now, on this slokam, our father Shiva is becoming jealous of the Ashoka tree because it became very weak. It got a blessing of his own, and therefore it got the gentle touch of Mother's feet. And Shiva has been meditating upon Mother from beyond time, but he never got the touch of Mother's feet. She never gently put her feet like she put her feet on Ashoka tree. This is the essence of the 85th shloka that we talked about. Now, leading that into 86th shloka, Mrishakritva gotraskalana madavailakshanamitam lalate bhartaram charanakamale tadayatite chiradantashalyam dahanakrutam unmulitata tula koti kwane kilikinchita mishana ripuna. Now, Shiva is moving with this desire that he wants to touch the feet of Mother. Who is Mother? Not just his wife now. She is the Guru Mandala Rupini. He is sitting there as a disciple. Another disciple who is holding her feet also has a desire that he wants to kick Shiva's forehead, the place where the third eye is, because the third eye burnt him. Now, two desires are to be unified. One, a greatest devotee of hers, Paramashiva, wants to touch her feet. Another devotee, a great devotee, not the greatest, but one of the greatest devotees, one of the 13, after Paramashiva, this inner circle, the Parama Divya Gurus come. In there, Manmada is also there. His desire is to kick the Hara, who actually consumed him by his third. Now, these two desires are being unified by Mother. One romantic evening, when father came back to Manidvipam, Mother was sitting in the Sabha. When father was coming, the gatekeepers, in that Sabha, everyone is a woman. There's no male other than Paramashiva. The gatekeepers ran. Okay, who are the gatekeepers? Vagdevis. They ran and said, Mother, Paramashiva, Father Shiva is coming. Immediately, Mother stood up she was sitting on the throne and she stood up, walked to the gate. As Paramashiva approached, she bowed down, touched her forehead to Paramashiva's feet, and he blessed her. Dirga Sumangali Baba. Right? When Sumangali Devi herself gets blessed as Dirga Sumangali Baba. And then Jagadguru, I'm being reminded, Jagadguru says in Soundarya Lahari, I have explained from your toenail to the hair on the head, Mother. All your body is very, very smooth, but your knees are very rough. Why are your knees very rough? Because you do the Padakrantam, you do the Namaskaram because women cannot do Sashtangam, you do Panchangam. Okay, and you are folding your knees all the time to touch your head to Paramashiva's feet. In doing that, your soft knees became very rough because you bow down to his feet so many times. Okay, now when Paramashiva went inside and they went into the bedroom, Paramashiva and mother were eating fruits. They were in a very romantic mood. And Paramashiva, talking to mother, he was gently lifting her face to kiss her gently on the lips by holding her chin. When he lifted her head, rather than addressing her as Lalita, Kali, Tara, or any other names, he addressed her as Ganga, and then mother's eyes turned red. Why? Ganga is also her name. But here, Ganga is the Bharya of Shiva. Dharma Patni is Mother Goddess Parvati. What is the difference between Patni and Bharya? Patni is the one who will always be the number one, Dharma Patni. In Dasaratha's case, Kausalya was the Dharma Patni because women cannot participate in homas and havans when their body is going through the monthly cycle. The kings who had to perform homam every day, along with their Shakti, they had to have multiple wives. Okay, but the first Patni, there's only one Patni, Dharma Patni, and all others are called Bharyas because they are Barincha. Bharya means the one who is being bared, right? Not as a burden, but she does not get the seat of the Patni. She gets the seat of Bharya. Therefore, only one Dharma Patni will be there, others will be called Bharyas. Now, Ganga is the Bharya of Shiva and he is bearing her weight on the head. Now, Shiva, does he not know what would happen if he calls her as Ganga? But he was also cooperating with mother to fulfill the desire of their son, devotee son Manmadha, who is, progressing ahead spiritually. But every time he sees Shiva, he keeps getting reminded of this desire on when will I kick Shiva's forehead, the third eye that burnt me down, right? Because of his Agyanam, Manmada's Agyanam. So Shiva, knowing mother's heart, said today is the day where we have to fulfill this desire of Manmada. So he called Mother Goddess Lalita, he addressed her as Ganga. She immediately, her heart, got dejected. The romantic mood completely got dispelled. This is all screenplay and drama of Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya. The one who does not move with lust and desire, why would they ever be disappointed? They are beyond the emotions, right? Our divine parents. Now, but this is how beautifully Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya writes the script so we can understand and engage easily. Now, when mother, this particular word in the slokam is called Gotraskalanam. It says, Mrashakratva Gotraskalanamada Vailakshanamitam. When in a very romantic mood, Gotraskalanam means the Gotra had to be spread through one womb, but there are multiple wombs that are picked up. Right? Gotraskarana is when one of the other wife's name is taken in front of the other wife, in a romantic mood where that wife does not want to think of the others who are sharing her husband's love. And therefore, mother was disappointed. She is enacting disappointment and dejectment. And then she went and lied on the bed, turning the other side. Shiva is on this side of the bed. Each of them were facing. And now mother is turning the other side. So Shiva gently got up and tried holding her hands. And mother just gently pushed Shiva's hand that was trying to hold mother's hand, where Shiva was trying to kiss mother's hand by holding it. Then Shiva sat at mother's feet and gently was pressing her feet. And when it came to the right foot, the toes he was trying to gently press, mother gently pushed her leg and when she pushed her leg, the hand of Shiva was pushed, and when it fell again on mother's feet. Now, when it fell again on mother's feet, she enacted irritating, saying, "How many times I have to kick you?" And she kicked a little more harder, still gentler. And when she was kicking, because she was also moving with a little amount of anger, enacted anger, her leg, now Shiva was coming close, to mother's feet to press. That leg went and touched the which leg? Mother's right leg. When Shiva came towards mother's side, mother turned to the other side. Therefore, when she was facing, she was facing away from Shiva, her leg left was there. But Shiva went down on the ground and mother was lying on the bed, she turned to the other side so she need not face Shiva. And her right leg kicked Shiva's forehead. Who is on the right side of mother? Shiva herself. Who is on the left side of Shiva? Mother herself. So there are no two bodies. So we should not think of it a physical body really kicking. How can that Mahapativrata kick? And when her toes gently touched the forehead, there was a sound like the bell sound that came through. And Shiva just looked around saying, "Where is the bell sound coming?" Okay. It was a mother's anklet. Who is holding mother's feet? Manmada. When her feet gently touched the forehead, Manmada thought, "I kicked Shiva today." Okay, because he's holding on to mother's feet all the time. And when mother's feet touched Shiva's forehead, mother's anklet started ringing as if it is a Jaya Ganta of a war. When people are victorious in a war, the Jayaganta is rang. They ring the bell to indicate that one person is victorious. And now Manmada is jumping with joy, saying, "Today I kicked Shiva," and he was kissing mother's feet, saying, "Thank you so much for blessing me." And mother and father looked at each other and smiled. That's how both of them play together to fulfill the wishes of their devotees by keeping their ego aside, by keeping their identity aside. For them, you and I, the whole creation is extremely important. If one kid or one son or a daughter is making an effort to reach their feet, they'll come down 1,000 steps to help us. This is one such example of their Avyaja Karuna, where Shiva and Shakti become one to fulfill the desire of one of their greatest devotees, Narmada. Okay, these are the two shlokas that we wanted to discuss, but we'll make an attempt to 87th shloka, 88th, 89th, we'll discuss next one. So this is how the 84th that we discussed in the last class, 85th and 86th are connected. And with that, we will conclude today's class. Mangalam Guru Shri Chandramaleeshwarage Shakti Ganapati Sharadambike Shankaracharyanige Kala Bhairavage Kali Durgige Veeradhira Sura Hanuma Maruti Charanage Mangalam Guru Shri. Stay blessed. Sree Maathre Namaha.